Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to It's Rainmaking Time. This is Kim Greenhouse. I'll tell you that I've been very torn about doing any segments on this oil spill in the Gulf. Not only torn about it, but after doing a geologic look with Chris Landau in terms of the state of affairs happening in the water, below the water, and what needs to be done about it, I've been torn whether to cover any more about it, because it seems that other than raising money, that everything else is politicized, and I didn't want to be involved in that. But like you, I visit YouTube, I listen to different views and perspectives, and there was a gentleman on YouTube named Barnie Von Grabe. Mr. Von Grabe is an innovator, he is a businessman, he is an analyst who analyzes how to bring solutions to problems. He holds 65 patents as an inventor. I wish one of his solutions was around before my mother, Joanne, died of Alzheimer's. He's working on that and has something in the wings for us. But for purposes of what's happening in the Gulf, I really thought he brought an interesting context to understanding who are the players that are responsible and how to think about this differently other than just blaming BP. I want him to introduce himself and to talk about Halliburton's involvement, Transocean's involvement, Cameron's involvement, the cementing, and the blowout preventer. There's so many different parts of this. You really need to listen to this, not in a partisan political way or a blame way, but to look at the mosaic of how a contractor can bring in subcontractors and then nobody's responsible. And how this happens, by the way, in many industries. This is just one example. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Barnie Von Grabe to It's Rainmaking Time. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Kim. How are you?
I'm delighted to have you on. I'm very, very excited to learn about who are the other players that are involved and how are they involved and how we should be thinking about this differently than many of us tend to be thinking about it right now.
Well, actually, this is very simple. BP owns the lease and therefore, under the contract, of course, is responsible or liable for any damages which may arise out of the drilling. But that does not mean that BP has actually caused the problem, the disaster. What BP did, and it has done so several times, it has subcontracted, it has rented or leased from Transocean the Deepwater Horizon drilling rig, which is owned by Transocean, of course. Now, Transocean, in fact, does the entire project, the drilling down to the point, and it is an exploratory drilling down to the point where they may or may not get oil. In fact, they did get oil, as we know. However, the drilling involves several items, several steps, and several pieces of equipment. One thing Transocean did, they subcontracted with Halliburton the cementing of the borehole, which means this is meant, which is intended, of course, to prevent any oil seeping through any side leak the borehole and the tubing inside the borehole may have. Now, the problem with Halliburton's cementing technology is, for at least a dozen times, they have had problems with their cementing technology. That leaks started to appear. It didn't leak. It didn't seal completely, etc. So everybody knew that at the time. Okay, next, and then of course, what happened here? The Halliburton cementing technology failed, and of course we have, and that triggered the actual spill. Next point. There has to be some type of a valve, a safety valve. If something goes wrong, that we can cut it off. It's called the blowout preventer. That thing is built, designed and built, has been delivered and installed under the supervision of Cameron International, a Houston, Texas office firm. As it turned out, the blowout preventer was supposed to have several valves. It is unclear how many valves it actually did, but the valve did not work. Moreover, each blowout preventer has a backup system, a deadman switch if you want, and that deadman switch did not work either. So now we got a big problem. What I'm saying really is that the disaster was caused by problems with subcontractors, not by BP. That doesn't mean that BP is not liable. BP is liable, of course, and but you need to see clearly what is going on. I find it amazing that the media only talks about BP. I mean, the facts are widely known and available online. Google these keywords, you'll find the information all over the place.
I think part of it is that because BP is the general contractor, just like you would have a general contractor on a real estate project or a building project, if there's any problem with the subs, you go to the general contractor. But I think it's very important what you're saying because you have multiple layers of liability, you have multiple layers of responsibility, and it means that everybody in the loop is complicit by not making sure that safety is a priority at every level. It sounds like all of these, from Halliburton Cementing to Transocean, they didn't test the blowout preventer. All of these things and all these levels and layers, who would be the organization that would oversee these safety factors to make sure that all of them are in compliance?
Well, you're completely right. That job, of course, belongs to BP. But the point is, whether BP or Transocean is operating the rig, and it is therefore responsible. Having subcontracted with Halliburton and Cameron, of course, it's responsible for everything working correct. That does not relieve BP from liability, but just BP bashing and not looking at the facts, especially if you talk Halliburton, which has had problems before in this area. I mean, come on now.
So what are you proposing? First of all, I think it's good that you made mention of all of this because I think there is a whole thing with what should be done when you have a general contractor managing subs, particularly in something like drilling, in something as treacherous as the waters. What are you recommending?
Well, right now, the disaster happening and continuing to happen, of course, I think we should concentrate on actually plugging the hole. Now, many proposals have been made, including one to explode a small nuclear device. The problem, of course, is that nobody knows what is going to happen. First of all, yes, of course, you can. We know from the past that a nuclear explosion actually melts the sand or okay, but we have no guarantee that a nuclear explosion, for example, wouldn't open up further at some other location access to the oil and cause other oil spills. So that, in my opinion, nukes are out. I have a number of ideas how you would go down, but I don't think that anybody in charge of this is open to more.
No, I don't think so. It doesn't look like it. I did an interview with Chris Landau, who had done 50 high-pressure drilling projects, right, and spent time with him. And I will tell you what he had to say about the state of what's happening, how to make sure that the forensics on this job are available to the public and how to go about that, and also what to do to get this corrected. He actually laid it out for us. You may want to hear that interview with Chris Landau. But it's kind of like in the airline industry. There's old parts, very old parts that may not be working in an optimal state, but sometimes airlines don't